plant advice for any space in your life. Without further ado, the show.
Hey, welcome in, everybody. It's Saturday morning at 0800.
It is.
You know what that means. Without a doubt, it's time for Gardening Inside Out.
That's right. And who are you?
I'm Josh Carey.
Hey, and I'm David Bates.
Yes, you are.
Glad to have you all along today for the ride. That's
Yeah, buddy.
Tyler Blankenship right there, front and center.
Points to the right.
Taking the biggest slice of the camera.
Well,
I
it's
mean,
okay. It's a Tyler cam.
It's forced perspective. And now the perspective.
He's
has
actually
changed.
only 3 feet tall.
He just makes him look large.
Yes.
And speaking of larger than life, let's go straight to the weather. I don't know if that actually is larger than life, but
Nah,
we're
not really.
gonna go with it. Got a great forecast for you.
Perfect.
This is Saturday, the 4th of November.
Mm-hmm.
And things are going to be gorgeous, mostly sunny today. 72 degrees for the high. Get the shorts back out. Tyler's already got his on.
I do. I can't wait.
I will have mine on. Just don't have them yet. 46 for the overnight low. A few clouds, but mostly sunny. Tomorrow, more of the same, 72, 45. Monday, a little warmer, 78, 56. And Tuesday, a bit warmer still, 81, 61, 83, 65 on Wednesday. Can it continue? No, because Thursday there's the chance of showers. 70, 52, we get back to the reality that we indeed are in November, which is not a bad thing because this is the time when gardening is really at its easiest and best.
Bestest is best.
We are certainly in a time of drought conditions, and watering is something that, as long as people can be mindful of that and keep that in the cerebral cortex,
The cortex
and
of
other
your
parts of
cerebrals,
other parts of their brain that may be necessary to keep watering
the
going.
frontal lobe, as it were.
Yes.
Huh?
Yes, the frontal lobe.
You saw me turn it off. You saw me turn it off, David Bates.
It was. I think that was Tyler messing with you.
Oh, okay.
But you know what? We've got a complete cast here this morning. When we're always glad to welcome in Caroline Gant, Austin Lowen. Welcome in, guys.
The ensemble.
Good morning.
And that completes our group for today. And we're going to be talking about, well, actually, it's going to be about what you want to talk about. You send in questions.
Yes.
We get you answers. And those questions come in through any one of our variety of social media connections, be it Instagram, Facebook. Just go to Gardening Inside Out, or you can. Did we check
We're
the
on the
hashtag
eggs.
GIO? Did you
It's
check?
a very popular hashtag.
Is it?
Geo.
Well, we're one of the places it'll send you.
But
so
Gardening Inside Out is kind of ours. So.
yes, so we'll go with that then. So anyway, welcome in everyone, and I'm certain there are a few preliminary things you want to get to.
GEO or GIO?
Well,
Did you go GIO or GEO?
Why would it be GEO?
It wouldn't be GEO, but that one's probably more popular than GIO, isn't it?
You know what? I didn't check that.
You didn't look at GIO?
because it's not relevant.
No, I
Josh.
didn't check GEO because we don't have a word with an E in it.
Yes, that would be part of
Gardening.
unless you
you're
count
from
the
Boston.
It ends
Gardening.
with an E anyway.
Oh, okay.
So let's go with you guys got anything you want to put out there before we get to the questions?
Ooh, we got our first shipment of holiday plants in. Not poinsettias yet.
Oh.
Thank you. I'm not ready for those, but we did get Christmas cactus and Norfolk Island pine. So we have had a lot of questions about Christmas cactus, Thanksgiving cactus coming in, and they are here and they are going fast. I have to keep rearranging them. So it's exciting. It's a sign that the holidays are upon us.
And the
Those
zygote
plants are here.
cactus, which are commonly labeled Kris Kringle is the cultivar name that is most commonly associated with those, and they are indeed a zygote cactus. They're not actually a real cactus.
Yes,
but
not a true cactus.
They
Is
are
there a
succulent.
Krampus cactus?
It's just not a real
There
cactus.
should be a
we
Krampus
can
cactus.
we can make one.
Okay.
There should be one.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'm excited they're here. I love them. But yeah, like David said, not a true cactus. They don't like a lot of direct sunlight, and if they get too much, they'll turn red and then brown. That's how you know that They're
And if-
not getting the ideal sunlight.
And if they get chilled, they'll drop all the buds.
Yes, they will. They
In a
absolutely
heartbeat.
will.
So, you kind of need to be mindful of these specific needs they have. But if you keep them in a warm, sunny spot, they'll just do wonderful, and they're really easy to care for.
And they like coffee. Coffee helps them. So
Really?
that's a
Is
fun.
it the caffeine? That,
It's the caffeine. It jump starts their
It's got to be
blooms.
Guatemalan coffee, though.
It
right?
does.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
I don't know
Austin,
that
do you
that's
have any
true.
housekeeping?
Any housekeeping?
Yeah. Any things to talk about the nursery?
About this week was a heavy week. I'll give you
14
that.
trucks, right?
Yeah, like something ridiculous. Our inventory is huge right now. I mean, plenty to look at. We had a tree truck come in.
Lots of bald
and
and
it's,
burlap out there this week.
Yeah, we got a lot of heavy trees. Me and Pedro.
It seems like it has taken us this long into the season to ever get to a point where we feel like and where it looks like we are fully stocked. Mm-hmm. Because from laurels to, we've been short on laurels the entire year. We finally have a full stock of laurels. On trees, we've been short. We finally have a full stock of trees. So I don't know of anything that we're particularly deficient on at all. Pretty much A to Z, we've got a great selection of all the different things you might be interested in. And we still have a lot of pansies and violas.
Oh, we
on
have a
hand.
greenhouse full of them right now.
I have a mission to buy yellow ones today.
We
There's a
have
certain
those.
director-
We did get a 2-star review from someone
I remember this.
on the
Dos Star Rose?
about we didn't like our selection of pansies.
Really?
Yeah, and we've only got like half of a whole. It's like
Half of the whole?
it's half of our entire facility.
I think it's more than
More than it may
yeah,
be
more than half of that
It-
greenhouse.
yeah.
When you walk back there, it's just like a sea of color.
I don't know of anyone else who even. Many folks don't even have pansies at this point. So anyway, we've got quite a lot to choose from. We'll talk more about all those things as
Later.
we go through the program.
Yes, we will.
We
Well,
already have a question on the Facebook page if we're ready.
Well, really fast, I did want to
Okay.
say, speaking of all the inventory that Austin was talking about bringing in, if you noticed, he talked about we had a huge tree truck. We have a ton of shrubs on the lot. We have a lot of B&B. And right now, I would say the most popular question we're getting is it too late to plant? So if you're listening to what we're talking about, we're getting all these trucks in. Absolutely not. It's not too late to plant. We wouldn't be getting all these plants in if it was. So
And let's see, make one small explanation. When you use the term B&B, some people may not understand what does that mean. That means balled and burlap, that, as opposed to container grown. Now, and
There's a ball covered with burlap.
yeah, it's
Exactly.
B&B. It's not Airbnb. It's
No, it's
just,
not.
There's no
just-
cleaning fee?
no, it's-
Come on.
It's just balled and burlap
Oh,
or
okay.
B&B.
but they are so heavy.
Yes, they
Oh
are.
my gosh.
But this is the time of year when balled and burlap plants are wonderfully
Yes.
favorable because there's no transplant shock while they're dormant. And this just in, we've had freezing temperatures this week. Things have
What?
gotten well into dormancy, so people can really begin to expand their horizons with respect to, hey, I've got this plant in my yard that I have had in the wrong spot, and I've been waiting to get it transplanted to the right spot.
Is it too late?
It's not too late.
Not too late.
So,
All right, Josh.
Now to you, Josh.
This is a Smyrna person who has come out.
That
to
narrows
the-
it down.
Oh, well, okay.
Risha. Hi, Risha. Our Japanese maples has tall shoots coming out of the top. For fall and winter, do we prune these?
If you don't like them, then yes, you
Cut
can
'em.
prune them.
Yeah.
Because Japanese maples do have a way of doing that in the fall. Sometimes there's a lot of plants that'll do that and send some random shoots up late in the fall. And if it's aesthetically displeasing to you, then most certainly you
It's
can cut
obviously
those.
driving her crazy.
If it's driving you crazy, then
Yeah.
yeah, you can take them. And it's getting to the point now where most Japanese maples have pretty well lost most of their leaves. I would
easy to find it,
let
right?
you or tell you to wait until they really drop all their leaves, kind of let them finish up, and then prune them to shape.
Right.
This time you kind of shape your Japanese maple. So
And there's no benefit to cutting those out completely. There's no reason to. I mean, unless they are a crossing branch or something. So, just as you say, get them back down to even them up with the rest of the canopy.
She's a very orderly person.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
so-
We want that for sure to
Yeah.
be the case. Hey, before we jump into the bulk of the questions, Caroline, we want to talk about one little event we've got going on here that Bates Nursery and Garden Center is a supporter of. It's Love the Lake, Love the Land art show and sale going on at the Nature Center at Radnor Lake, and the Chestnut Group is an incredible display of, and I don't know how many of the participating artists are in there, but I did have the opportunity night before last to get to take the grand tour through. Absolutely outstanding. If you're looking for something to really complement your any space you've got in the house or
That
around,
big Christmas gift is
Oh,
just around the corner.
that will make it really easy to get something nice. So take the one that's special in your life out there and go see that event. Love the Lake, Love the Land art show sale at Radnor Lake. That is brought to you by, of course, the Friends of Radnor Lake and the Chestnut Group, which is a plein air painting group, of which my wife is a member, and she has artwork displayed out there as well. So go check it out and support it. It's a great cause and some incredible art. So check it out.
You might see an eagle too.
You just might. You would definitely see some in art because
Yep.
there are several out there that I noticed. Okay, Caroline, that's enough out of me.
All right, so let's stick on the Japanese maple topic. We do have another question on that. Advice for keeping small potted Japanese maple alive this winter. I have a couple in pots.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Japanese
seem to do
maples
well.
Are great in pots. They really are.
Got a water.
We should get old Sam. Old Sam Boyette, you out there? You listening? We ought to get him on the phone because he's got.
How many do you think he has?
He's got a number of potted Japanese maples, and I'm not sure he really does anything over the wintertime to keep them alive. I mean, the Japanese maples are plenty cold hardy. If you're worried a little bit about them, let them go dormant and then put them in like a shed or a garage or something. You know, a deciduous plant does not need light over the wintertime. So if you need to put it in and protect it from those really freezing temps or whatever, you know, keep an eye on the weather. But for the most part, you don't really have to do much. You know, keep it somewhat moist but not wet, and they'll generally be fine in a pot.
Yeah, somewhat counterintuitive for many who have Japanese maple in containers. The cold weather threat coming into winter is decidedly less threatening to them than the weather coming into spring. If you've had, you're still in winter, maybe you've had enough weather to get them juiced up where they're
And then
starting, and
that's
then you
sudden.
have a hammer freeze. Now that can be devastating to them. So, but on this end of the scale, even last year, we've got a dissectum, a lace leaf type Japanese maple in a container in front of our house. We only watered it, and we had a 60-degree drop in temperatures one day.
Bang.
And it was fine. To my knowledge, it did not even have a single limb that died on it. So, as you said, Austin, they're quite tough. It's more on the springtime end that you need to be mindful of.
Yep.
Yes.
The only time I've killed a couple Japanese maple. I think a few were not my fault. They got something. But the potted ones, I've lost two of them, and the only time during the year that they died was summer. So
That's when
they
I
were
lost
stressed during the
mine.
summer. I didn't water them. All the ones I've had during the winter, not doing anything to them, they did fine. And they were just great. They came out in the spring, and then I killed them in the summer by not watering
This
them.
might be the winter when you have to do something, and watering is that thing because
Yeah.
we are in
Dry,
drought
dry.
conditions right now, and the El Nino effect is a major contributor to that. So just be mindful and be thoughtful of your plants, particularly those that are in containers. They will likely need additional water as we go through the winter season when you would not typically be thinking about it.
Water in the winter. We should do a webinar on that. But
I heard that.
yes, we have some
He did
webinars
hear it.
coming
We're
up
all in
soon.
earshot.
We did get a message just now on Instagram.
Oh, wow.
And I guess this is a live question. Based on previous El Nino events, what do you eminent horticulturalists predict how our 23 to 24 winter might be different than usual, given that the quote-unquote usual weather now seems to expect the unusual?
Well, you're kind of eminent as well as imminent, aren't you, David?
Well, I don't know
His
about
eminence.
I don't know. I would just say this, and I watch a lot of weather.
Yes.
I have multiple.
That's an understatement, David.
Really?
Well, I kind of got a lot riding on what the weather's doing, so it pays me to be apprised as correctly as possible about that. Generally speaking, it would appear that we're going to have a warmer than normal, but only slightly warmer than normal, and maybe slightly drier than normal. However, I have seen a couple of reports that we could have perhaps a 25% increase in the amount of snowfall that we have, which, our normal maximum for the year, for the total of the year, is like 12 inches. So say you're talking 15 inches of snow over the entirety of the winter, opposed to 12 inches. So the snow is actually quite beneficial. It's insulating. It provides moisture. So that's not a bad thing. So I don't have any insight that really is relevant. If I could have predicted last year, all I know is weather forecasts are much better the closer to the time of the actual forecast is arriving. So last year, for instance, I really tried to put the warning out to folks that this was coming out about a week ahead of time is when I had my first inclination that things were going to get severe last year.
But I don't even think we understood because we were watching it for 2 weeks prior to that. And I don't think we even had the scale and the scope that it was going to drop as bad as it did.
Well, it's hard to process when they say it's going to be this major drop. You go, okay, yeah, it's warm now, it's going to be cold.
Okay.
But it's one of those things you need to be apprised of. I would say just as much as anything, be prepared to water. That's going to be the thing that's most likely will create problems for you in your landscape. So there's that.
Watering. All right, so crepe myrtle, that's a hot topic, I feel like, for us in the winter. So the crepe myrtle questions are starting to come in. The first one we have says, can you cut back crepe myrtle to the ground every year? I like the result from the freeze.
Well, that's funny.
We haven't heard that a lot. Most people were really upset with the freeze.
Yeah, whenever they lose the stems up top. You can certainly cut back crepe myrtle to the dirt every single year if you want to. Now, what you're going to get every year is a shrub crepe myrtle. So if it's like a tree form crepe myrtle, one that gets fairly large, you're going to see if you cut it to the ground, you're going to see shoots emerge from the ground up, and it'll be multi-stemmed, and it will look shrubby. And it'll get literally roughly about 6-7 feet tall by the end of the season and bloom heavily atop of that. And there's nothing wrong with doing that if you want to do it. We talk about Dr. Lincoln, who is a good friend of ours who's worked at our nursery and been a landscaper for 30, 40 years or whatever. And he's retired now. But he talks about back in the day, back like 30 years ago, they used to cut crepe myrtle to the dirt every single year because it was a little cooler over the wintertime. So they didn't even plan for the crepe myrtle to come back from its stems at all. They just had it come back from the ground every year. So yeah, his maintenance was literally go out and cut every crepe myrtle to the dirt and watch it regrow from the roots and then bloom atop of that. So.
During 78, 79, and 80, we had 3 years back to back to back where that we had severe freezing. Matter of fact,
January.
It was so severe that many people stopped using broadleaf evergreens in their landscape because they got tired of replacing them. And I get that. However, crepe myrtle were dying back to the ground every year. So I don't know that they necessarily were cutting them at the beginning of the season, but they certainly were cutting them by the end. And I recall us doing the same, where there was a lot of crepe myrtle that were dying back to the ground. And of course, that is the phenomenon in the industry we lovingly refer to as crepe murder. It does not kill them, but it does make them, as you said, Austin, it changes their form dramatically. To get it back to a multi-stem form where you only have like 5 stems requires a lot of thinning if you have had to do that. If you choose to continue to do it, as you said, there's nothing wrong with it. You're going to get a lot more blooms, a lot closer to the ground level, and they're going to have a very different very fat form to them.
Mrs. Carey cuts hers halfway every year, every single year, and then that way it maintains the same height in the summertime too. So, I mean, and we like the bush form. I mean, that's how we grow them. So.
Well, and for some of the really tall growing types, you may really get to enjoy the flowers more if they're a little shorter. You know, cultivars such as Natchez, which, by the way, does not need to be cut back. It almost never has freeze damage. They're a tree. They get 30 feet tall or more, so you may get to see more flowers because they're closer to the ground by cutting them back.
All right. So the second question we have about crepe myrtles is pretty much just the opposite of what was just asked. Can I cut back my crepe myrtles, not severely now, and just the tops and suckers, not the stems with berries on them?
So those berries are its seeds, and yes, obviously you can do this. You definitely take sucker sprouts if you want. You want it to be tree form. You want to keep those stems. You want to keep, but I do recommend shortening them. Yes, and the stems that do have the seeds on them. If you go down a little bit past those seeds, if you just want to do it minimally or whatever, then go down below those seeds and go ahead and top those seeds off of there. If you get those away, you have a much better bloom set next year. So I do recommend taking those. You don't want to leave those seeds on.
Yeah, plants only have X amount of energy, however much energy any plant has, and it's going towards the production of something. And if you leave seeds on there, it's going towards that feeding energy to the seed production. So getting those off, if you're not interested in collecting seed, and I don't really know anyone who grows crepe myrtle from seed, those are really best removed to keep them growing optimally and flowering accordingly.
They're going to fall off and get on the sidewalk and the deck and everything.
Yeah, you can get a little slingshot and
Yeah.
shoot them at each other. I mean, they're pretty handy for that.
You know what's funny? I've often thought about with crepe myrtle is that like a crepe myrtle has such an extensive root system. So we were talking about earlier, like if you cut it to the dirt, it's coming right back. Okay, if you try to dig it up and you want to remove a crepe myrtle, like you're going to see crepe myrtles popping back up. Like they're vigorous from their root system, but for some reason they send 1 million seeds out, but you rarely see crepe myrtle just like volunteering and popping up. I just wonder why that is.
And they're equally difficult to propagate. They're extremely woody, and it requires pretty sophisticated propagation techniques, mist beds, very closely timed, the right medium, the right rooting hormone. Obviously, they are being successfully done, but it's not one of those things that is well done by neophytes.
Neophytes?
Yeah, or people who are beginners for that matter.
All right.
Yeah, they're
They're
almost
fighting Neo, man. He'd be out there with the Matrix and stuff.
Oh,
Think
well.
about it.
Greenhorns.
Tyler?
Greenhorns.
Tyler, you there?
Newbies.
I'm here.
So let's stick on the pruning topic because we do have a lot of questions about when and how to cut stuff back. So we have a question about Annabelle hydrangeas. They're saying their Annabelle hydrangeas are toast. Is it time to cut them back yet?
Yes, it can be. We're to the point now. They're not going to regrow, new leaves at this point or anything. They're pretty well dormant. I've got Incredible hydrangea at the house. Y'all probably know this. My favorite hydrangeas by far. And yeah, mine look the same. They're the blooms are totally brown. The leaves are wilty, and they took a hit from this last freeze, so they're pretty well done.
But don't you love that look, though? I actually,
I do. Yeah.
See, I've got Annabelle's, which is the more of the original cultivar that the Incredible was derived from. I've got them. They're in a diamond or in a triangle planting configuration where there's 10 plants close together, and they all are one big mass. And I love the look of the persistent dried flowers at the end of the season. You can really maintain that throughout the winter. So while you can cut them, you don't have to cut them.
Yeah.
And I like the look. And then cut them back pretty much to the ground in springtime, because they do flower on the current year's growth, not the previous year. So there's no threat to delaying the flowers at all. Cut them, the new growth will come out, and they'll be wonderfully flowering.
Yeah, I'd say that like 95% of pruning is based on your aesthetic.
Yes.
Like, how much do you like it? People ask me about like grasses, like when to cut back grasses. Some people absolutely hate to see a brown grass up through the winter time.
I love it. I almost like it better.
I like it better too.
Me too.
I used to back in the day. I didn't like that near as much, but as I've grown the grasses, I like to see them up in like that tan color through the wintertime. Some people hate it, so like I said, either you cut it now to the dirt or you cut it in the early spring to the dirt. Either way, you're going to cut it.
And all those things, those elements in the landscape, when the wind blows, it creates movement. It's a lot of
Dancing.
wonderful effects that come out of it. So the dance hands, like you like to talk about.
The jazz hands.
Jazz hands, sorry.
Well, you get the full effect of all the ploofies when you leave the grasses up through the winter.
Yes,
Yes, you do.
Yes.
But then
Technical.
like hydrangeas, like the same way, like my Incredible types, you know, for a minute I can deal with those being up and I can look at that. But when the leaves start to look so bad, and
can't do it anymore.
I can't stand it anymore. So then I go in there and I really clean them up and I prune them how I want to. I open them up. I get this great vase shape that I'm after. I get the stems all uniform, and then after that, I really like that look too of a cleaned up, pruned up shrub scenario.
You are the cleanest gardener I know,
Well,
by the way.
for the most part, I can get it depends.
It could get messy sometimes.
Sometimes, but then I
just
go
mean
in
your
and clean
aesthetic.
it up.
It's just so clean. Stuff
do
will
want
annoy
stuff
you, and you're
clean.
like, I got to clean this up right now. But don't we have did we do a video on Austin cutting back his incredible hydrangeas?
We did.
We
so
sure
it is
did.
out there
It's
on the
out there on
internet,
the
y'all.
YouTube.
At the
Y'all
end of
go
it, it
to
looked very
YouTube.
clean. You got to see my dog. My dog was laying down next to me as I was pruning.
Oh yeah, we did a time lapse of you cleaning it.
Yeah. And then I leaf blew below it to get all the leaf debris out of there.
See, cleanest gardener.
I do
ever.
like to be clean. Not gonna lie. I've got perennial hibiscus right now that's totally dormant. Obviously, it's just stems, and I haven't cut them back yet, but I'm about to. And I cannot wait to leaf blow below it because if you've grown perennial hibiscus, you know how dirty they are. They send a new bloom every single day.
Drop
they
it.
close up at night and they drop, within the next couple days. So I've got just like leftover leaf/flower debris below them. And like I said, I cannot wait to get the leaf blower out and get that cleaned up. It's
Well, you
going to
know,
look good.
I gifted 3 of those perennial hibiscus to my daughter. So you take these all the way back to the ground every year in the spring?
Yeah, you have to. They
Okay.
don't come back from the sticks at
Okay.
all. Yeah, everything's from the dirt.
Herbaceous
They go
perennial.
to the dirt.
Herbaceous.
Yeah. Now, then, and one of the things to what you're talking about, Austin, it's just the general getting up of leaf matter. Period. And the trees are still holding on the leaves somewhat. This past week would go a long way towards driving them off, and soon they will be gone. But when you've got major leaf producers in your yard, it does make it difficult. It gives you a little impatience. We've got a big willow oak next door here that's kind of putting down a lot of leaves in our new parking area, hence the drain. So before it rains next week, we're going to get out there and get everything up the best we can. I'm just trying
He's
to...
speaking French, guys. Did you hear him? He's saying we are going to get out there and clean
Yeah,
them up.
well, it's the royal we. I probably won't, but I have blown
The
some of them.
we will be out there taking care of it, as it were. I see.
It will get taken care of. I'll put
It
that
will
way.
be. You know what the best thing for any plant that you might have is?
Well,
David
if you're going to have success in growing
Yes.
it, you're going to want to do the soil in such a way that you get excellent friability. You want to be able to hold moisture. You want to be able to get every good thing that nature has to offer. And that's what you get when you use Earth Mix Garden Products. Earth Mix Garden Products is 100% organic soil mix produced right here in Nashville, Tennessee. And we've really taken it to heart to try to develop these products so that there's absolutely no chemical additives whatsoever. It has had additional endo and ecto mycorrhiza fungi, which of course are naturally occurring. We just give more in there. Also humic acid, which is another naturally occurring thing. And those are boosted into the supernatural compost. Supernatural compost is a component it is a product by itself. It also is an input in several other products downstream from that. So what you get is the most viable, healthiest product you can get, and you're going to get plants that respond accordingly. So when you're looking around for the garden, make sure you get out and check out Earth Mix Garden Products, and they are available throughout the area. And I keep forgetting to change my settings here. This is going to make me have to go worldwide for just a second.
That's okay.
But if you have your local if you have your local selection set, it will show you what's local, and there it is. And
There's Tyler.
there's Tyler. Hello,
Back
Tyler.
of Tyler.
He jumped in there. We had to restart a camera.
We lost all our cameras, so
Oh,
bear
no.
with me.
But
I'm
we
gonna go
didn't
over
lose
and
our
reset
audio.
y'all.
It's just the way it is. So if you go in there, you'll see all the locations that we had to choose from. And we really strongly recommend you support all of
The
these
local businesses, man.
all
Go out there
these
and
local
find 'em.
independent garden centers and other independent businesses. They're all great folks, and they're going to give you the same products that are available through the Earth Mix Garden Products Network. So check it out. Just remember this: success in gardening begins at the ground level when you use Earth Mix Garden Products. And we appreciate you giving us a moment and then helping us to work through that little technical glitch. That's the thing about when you're
was weird.
broadcasting live, you get technical glitches, and we're not
Glitches are.
we're not immune to them. But we have become
say it.
reasonably adept at dealing with them.
That's
and I
okay.
would say we again. It's actually Tyler.
Where?
Glitches get stitches around here.
Yeah.
Glitches
right.
So
are.
anyway.
You get him, Tyler.
That's right.
So check out Earth Mix all over Tennessee, Kentucky, southern Indiana, and northern Alabama. Check it out. So
Upper Alabama?
upper
Northern Alabama at Rudy's Garden Center.
There you go.
Buffalo says he's got 2 snow plows and on his plow trucks. He wants some snow this year. So.
Well, we're going to try to get him.
I don't.
Okay.
I don't want any snow.
It's usually how it. Well,
Is it a collective will?
3
that has
Bobcats,
anything-
snow pushers, and 24 wheelers.
If a guy that's got all this equipment wants it bad enough, how many people wanting it to be the opposite does it take to offset that want? Or does it have any effect at all?
I think he offsets his addiction to equipment with the fees that he chooses and charges to get people out of ditches and clean off parking lots. Do you think that it may be an
Perhaps.
enabling thing because he's got the toys?
He definitely
he's got the
does.
toys.
And
Sounds fun, though. But no, I don't want snow.
Yeah.
Not at all.
you know what I want?
What do you want, Tyler?
What's in room with
Yes, let's do it because I know everybody is wondering what's in the corners back there behind Tyler and David.
What are
So listen,
those?
when I brought these in, Austin said, Caroline, what? And I said, I love this plant, even though mine died back to the ground this winter. So that is
That's right.
osmanthus. So when it blooms, it's got this little
Sweet olive.
sweet orange scent. These little bitty white blooms that just smell amazing for how small they are.
Not showy really at all, are
Not
they?
showy. Their scent is showy, but the
Yes.
flower itself, not so much. Like I said, mine died back to the ground. It did come back, but we did get these huge ones in at the nursery, and the leaves are so big. I don't think I've seen leaves on these this big before.
Yeah.
So I just had to bring them in. I like how they look. Austin, maybe not so much. I'm not
Found the
sure.
right spot.
Seemed like he was
man.
judging me a little bit when I brought him in, and that's okay.
Definitely.
And then right underneath the TV, we've got white cloud muley grass. So Bridget has just a huge clump of this in our grass section. Shout out to Bridget, our grass girl here at the nursery. And look at that. They are in full bloom right now. I mean, it
Pretty
looks like a
awesome.
big white cloud just sitting in the middle of the lot. When you clump all those together,
And that's the secret with muley grass. You got to have a group of them. Don't even bother buying one.
That's like pink flamingos.
You need 5, 7, 9. You need some group, and they need to all be
6,
together
8,
because,
10,
well,
12.
no,
Critical
It's
mass.
got to be odd
Critical
numbers.
mass.
Well, it's got to be even numbers, then.
odd numbers. I feel like, Josh, you're gonna lose on that one in this room.
Okay, probably.
I planted 3 muley grass probably 7 years ago, and only one survived. And then digging that one out that did survive was actually pretty hard. So down in front, we've got Rainbow Leucothaway, which I just planted one just to test it a couple weeks ago. No one in the nursery has grown one yet, and I love how it looks. You can see one in front of David, yes, and there's the yardstick pointing it out. Do you see that little white leaves that are sticking up? Can't really see it on camera, but the stem is like this vibrant pink color.
Yep.
And it does have a lot of pink color in the leaves. These, not so much this batch we got in most recently, but mine at my house, there's a lot of pink in the leaves. And then next to it, we've got cat mint. So that's cat pajamas, cat mint that's down low in front. Mine is still looking okay, even with the freeze. It's still holding on a little bit.
And that one is cat's pajamas. Is that right?
It is. Yeah.
Da-da-da.
Doesn't that sound adorable?
It does.
It's just so cute. Speaking of cats, my nursery cats that I brought home are wild and doing great. And then next to it, we've got Pro Violet Flame upright phlox. So last week I talked about how my phlox was still in bloom, and it does still have some blooms on it even with this freeze. I had a second round come in. It's one of the only things in my flower beds that's looking okay, has any color at all. But we have those at the nursery. They were looking really showy, and Austin said, Caroline, let's bring those on in. Now let's come over to this side.
Go that way.
All right.
Tyler, let's do a wide pan of this side.
Okay.
Look at this. Look at this display. And I have to say, I mean, if you guys had to guess whose hands were in this, more me or Austin, you probably, if you know Austin at all, you'd say it was Austin.
Caroline.
And Carol. Well, we did it together, but the boxwood, the white, and the pink. I mean, come on. This is an Austin display right here.
This is one of my favorite displays I've ever done.
I mean, it is absolutely stunning. We'll have to. We'll take a picture, put it on the wall, and frame it. It'll be amazing. But we brought the pink snapdragons in. I put some in my mixed containers. Mine were orange, but we brought these in. We kind of sprinkled them around. We've got white pansies down at front. Again, our greenhouse right now is absolutely fully stocked with pansies right now. We have some heuchera right here. It is frosted berry. Let's see, where are we? There we are.
There you go.
So it's these silvery leaves that we see. The underside is kind of a burgundy maroon color, and then the top has this like silver sheen to it. I don't have this one yet, but I might need to take one home. And then we've got this heather that we brought in a couple weeks ago. We sprinkled it in because, I mean, come on. It's stunning, and just the texture that it adds to this display is amazing. And then lastly, we had to bring some boxwoods in because Austin loves boxwoods. So we've got Franklin's Gem boxwoods. Austin is showing his off over there. I've got mine on the. There you go. Do it again.
Yeah.
You did not mess up. There it is. Get
Franklin's
it, Vanna.
Gem.
How do you feel about that one?
Franklin's Gem is a good little boxwood, and I say little, it's little. Like it doesn't
Is
get very
it?
big. Yes, it's a dwarf variety, slow growing, fairly expensive because they are slow growing, but really tidy and neat.
We have a whole row
know
of
what?
them, and they're all kind of the same size and shape because they came in at the same time. But it's
A
cute.
fun fact about those boxwood and other dwarf cultivars that I had the pleasure and the honor of getting to go to Normandy in France.
Normandy, yeah.
And to get to see, visit the memorial cemetery there and to go through that. They have some planting areas where they have multiple different cultivars of dwarf boxwoods, which they have marked. And
Wow.
and this particular cultivar was the one that to me anyway, appeared to be the best of all the different ones. So for what it's worth, it's Normandy approved. So there you go.
Yep.
Well, that is what's in room this morning.
Nice.
Very nice.
Again, this side is just stunning. Wow. So we
It's
still
got
have
Austin.
questions about pruning. We're going to take a shift to like flower pruning, herb pruning. We have a question about lemongrass. What do I do to my lemongrass to prepare for cold weather? Trimming? I mean, my lemongrass always gets taken out real fast. It does not overwinter
Last
here.
rites, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, but
You can, what I have done with the past, because I do use mine for cooking, if it's still alive right now, I'm not sure if it is. I didn't plant any this year. I will tie off the whole, make a ponytail out of that grass, tie it off, cut it, and then hang it in my kitchen, and then I will use it to cook with. But they get
so
huge
good.
over the summer. It smells amazing, but it's wild. But no, it's not going to last if you're here in Middle Tennessee. So there's not much to prepare for.
no, like you just said, lemongrass is not hardy here in our zone. So, my thought is what you could do, since it is such a chunky grass, like Caroline said, you can literally start from a little bitty, like 4-inch plant or something, and it turns into a shrub by the end of the season.
Right.
So what you could do is say you have it potted. You could take it out of the pot, cut all the top part off, and then section it, like divide it, if that makes sense, and then maybe store it in like a paper bag.
Worth a try.
I mean, it's
maybe
worth a
gotta-
shot. You'd probably want to keep the roots at least a little bit moist, not like totally bone dry. Like
Would you
put
wrap
'em
it in a plastic bag before you put it in the paper sack?
I don't know about plastic or not. I might just put them in a paper bag and then like maybe 2 or 3 to 5 times over the winter, bring them out, soak the roots, and then put them back in.
Okay.
That would probably be fine. And this is a long shot, y'all. I'm not saying this is going to work, but if you really want to try to save
Nothing ventured, nothing gained.
and
right?
then, I mean, you just try it out. Keep them, until we have our last, frost in the springtime, and then set those roots out into another pot of dirt, water it, and the warm weather hopefully will wake it up.
Yeah, all you're going to have is a little time that might be wasted. So,
Yeah.
and there's always a good chance it might really work. One of the things I think that helps a lot if you're going to cut those into divisions like you're talking about is to maybe fold some newspaper up and wrap the root ball part
There
of
you
it
go.
up with some newspaper and take rubber bands and put around it. And that way, it will allow it to hold some moisture around it, but not an excessive amount. Plastic would be a very
little too
bad
much,
thing to
yeah.
do because it's not going to let it breathe. It needs
Yeah.
to be able to dry. Even during the winter months, you might only need to add water once during the entirety of the winter if you're keeping it in a cool enough and dry enough.
Would
condition.
the newspaper be wet when you were wrapping? Would that be-
Well, you could wrap it and then wet
Moisten
it.
Wet it, yeah, 'cause
And
that's-
then stick it in the bag, and then it'll slowly dry out. And the good thing about it is it'll wick the excessive moisture away, and it will provide a layer of moist conditions right at the edge of the root system.
Yeah, which it's a good point to say. Like whenever a grass is only roots and it doesn't have any green above it and photosynthesizing and doing what it does during the growing season, it's not really uptaking water. So David, you're right. Like if you moisten the newspaper once, like right whenever you do it and keep it on the roots, you probably won't really have to do it again because it's not actively using that water.
No.
We're just keeping it a little bit moist, So there you go.
Keeping some life in it, if you will.
Yep.
We got a question from Sheila, and I'm going to read this the way she wrote it because it's confusing me just a little bit. She says, my coral bells come survive all year long. I don't know whether we're asking if that's just a typo where she says they will survive or can survive, but they're starting to look a little tired. Should they be cut back or replaced?
I leave mine up all winter. Some of mine stay up, and some of them die all the way back to the ground. I do have a little bit of freeze burn on the new growth on all of mine right now, which I'll probably just pick off because it's annoying to look at. But I just let mine stay up through the winter, however they look, because some of them look great. Again, some of them die back, but they always come back from the ground, so there's no need to replace them.
Yeah, don't replace them. No.
No,
They're very
don't do
hardy.
it. They're-
Don't.
I
But
love
do
them
clean
so
them up.
much.
Yep.
Like Caroline said, if they have a nasty leaf that looks bad or it's spotty or whatever, like take that leaf off. It bugs me so much.
We've already talked about you.
If Austin comes by your house and he sees that,
I'm
He
plucking
needs to
them.
come by my house, man.
Yeah.
I
gonna
could use some
clean
help this
up your
afternoon,
beds.
baby.
I would.
Okay.
Hey, let's talk for just a moment about where we are today, as every Saturday, and that's Bates Nursery and Garden Center, and where we have been beautifying Nashville since 1932. My grandmother, who you see right there on the picture, started our endeavor over in inside of Nashville, at 26th and Charlotte, and at that time moved over to the then florist location on Gallatin Road, and then. Some years later, my dad split the nursery part of that off, and then we've been here since the late 50s. And so as an ongoing business, we continue to, we've been fortunate to be in business all these years. Part of the difficulty is all of our facilities continue to age,
Yes, they
as
do.
does the owner, by the way. So we have to, while I might not be able to do much about me, we really work on trying to upgrade our facilities. We have done covered structural over our shade area that we did last year. We have repaved or paved outright our entire parking area. So you're not going to have to deal with mud or dust or any of those kind of things. We invite you to come out and see us. And as we were talking earlier in the program, Austin, you're welcome to chime in on this. Well, we got a selection that's second to nothing we've had the rest of the year. I mean, we are really stocked, and there's just about no area that we don't have an incredible selection of everything.
Yeah, it's probably the first time, like you had already mentioned, David, but probably the first time that every section of plants we have right now, every little section we have is full. Like, we couldn't do that this spring. We literally could not bring them in quick enough before y'all were taking them out. Okay, so like our
Thank
sections
you.
were,
Yes.
yeah, thank you for all that.
Yes.
We appreciate it, and we want to make sure we have the material for you to look at and take. That's the whole point of this. But yeah, it's a selection. I mean, our tree lot is so full, and we have a really good looking tree truck this last week. They came from McMinnville. They're all natively grown trees. I mean, right here in Tennessee, just a couple hours up the road. They're grown and suited for our area. Just great time to plant trees, and they look great.
Yeah, I want to give a major, and I mean big shout out. We don't get to extend her the amount of love she deserves. Julie Patterson, our green goods purchasing agent and goddess of all things growing. If were it not for Julie, we wouldn't have all these things. So if you get a
Don't
chance
stop
to,
at major. Go all the way to general.
well, I mean, she is, she is incredible. She's
Yep.
the secret weapon that's not so secret. So thank you, Julie, for all you do and for providing us with all of these plants that come in from the
Everywhere.
variety of sources. And we do have a network of suppliers second to none. So
Nationwide.
so we do encourage you to come see us. We're open from 9 a.m. till 4 p.m. on Monday through Saturday. We're open Sundays noon until 4. Remember this little important tidbit. We haven't talked about it all day. You get to fall back.
Oh no.
That hour of sleep that has kept you under,
No.
I mean, it's kept you subdued since
You
stupefied.
can spend
since
all
birth.
that daylight you saved this week,
Oh,
this year. I mean,
yes.
come
You
on.
know, come on out and see us. Bates Nursery and Garden Center, beautifying Nashville since 1932. And we really appreciate you giving us a moment to talk about that. We've got, Tyler and I have been working with some other professionals. We're working on some major improvements to our information and the connectivity that everyone will have to our website, and my picture of my grandmother there, her name is Bessie Bates. We will have a really active search feature called Ask Bessie. Yes, so
Cool. You
looking forward to
trademarked that, right?
getting that out there and honoring her in that way. And
She'll probably know more than all of us combined.
She
definitely
should.
will.
So there you go.
Hey, we see the moose out there watching, and on the Facebook page.
Moose, Michael?
The moose is out there watching. So
Pam Eldridge says, my husband is the cleanest, and it drives me crazy. I want to leave all the dried hydrangeas, but my husband does not. Plant wars.
Oh, boy, now there's
David, what are the two operative words in this situation?
Well, it is yes, dear.
yes, dear.
but she's the one who should be being ceded to. You know?
It does. Hey, whichever direction. Yes, dear.
So have your husband cut those plants and then have him bring them to you inside the home, and you make
It's
a fabulous
not the
arrangement.
Same.
No.
It's
She could
not
make a great
the
arrangement
same.
inside the house.
Now you know you can't
Yeah.
you can't spray those dried flowers with some like sealer, some
Yeah.
kind of a clear sealer, and that will make them hold together because as they start drying completely, they start
messy.
shedding off badly. So,
But they just look so nice
They do.
outside in
Yes.
your landscaping.
They do, but
I'm a huge fan of leaving them.
You don't seem like you are.
well,
you just seem
back to
so
the-
disappointed.
I'm not disappointed. I'm like the husband here. I am. I'm the same way. I don't like to necessarily see that either for too long. For a little bit, I can be behind it. But when it starts to get too far off, I got to cut those things too. But y'all,
You hear him over here
use-
talking. You hear him?
Yeah, I'm curious if there's not a double standard that he has in his garden somewhere. That maybe there's something that's defoliated that maybe he's left. That's
okay.
I'm not going to say what. I'm just curious. But anyway,
yeah, don't go there this morning.
Oh, it's there.
I didn't say it.
I didn't say anything. I said nothing.
Well, you know what though?
That's when
just
it's
real
scary
quick.
is when they quit talking, isn't
What?
it? Right, David? Oh.
The silence is deafening.
All right, Austin, what?
Look, real quick, just making an interesting fall bouquet inside your home. Use some sticks around the yard. Use some old leaves. Use some of your grasses that are still up. Play with those things. We don't always have to use a flower arrangement to make a pretty arrangement. Use other things.
It's a good
okay?
point.
True.
Or
All right.
leave them up in your garden beds.
Yes.
All right. I bet everyone's wondering, is there anything around town that has color or looks cool.
Don't even push the button, Tyler, because no. I don't have anything this week. We had our first. There you go. See, no, we're not even doing it. We had 3 days of. Yes, that's it. There you go. Your pansies are blooming. There you go. If you don't have pansies, you better get them. No, I don't have anything that's really blooming right now. We got a lot of seeds. It's a lot of seed heads.
Well, yeah.
Caroline, how many Rudbeckia seeds do you have right now?
Oh, so many.
All
Yeah.
the ornamental
So many.
grasses are.
Oh yeah, those are still
really,
going. There you go. The grasses, actually, the grasses didn't really even get affected. The seeds, especially, didn't get
No.
affected at all
Not
by
at
the
all.
cold temps. So there you go. Your grasses are blooming. Bring some of those in for a bouquet.
Make a bouquet.
There are always a plethora of items like you're talking about, Austin, that you can collect out of the yard, and perhaps just add a cut flower or two from that you might have to buy this time of year, but you can make some really attractive arrangements for the house using largely things, or maybe entirely things you have in your garden, or perhaps only adding a few little tidbits of things here and there.
Hey, you know what's a good one is if you got some old school Nandina,
Oh.
which
With berries on it.
Nandina, but the berries on Nandina are great
Yep.
for fall/winter arrangements.
I don't like that.
Caroline, I know you don't like that plant. Hardly any of us like that plant, but a lot of people grow it because it lives. It's evergreen. It's got color. It's got berries. Like it's a functioning plant.
Got to have something
It's
for the
a
mantle.
functioning
You got to
plant.
have
You're
something
right.
on the mantle.
It functions.
It is great for the mantle, Josh.
Yes.
Great point. I do a nice little Christmas mantle every year.
Oh, do you now?
I do. And I
I
use
bet it's so fancy.
my father-in-law and mother-in-law, shout out. They're actually watching my kids right now, so thank you for
Bless
that.
them. Bless them.
Yes, and they grow Nandina across the front of their house. And last year, they actually collected for me a whole bunch of Nandina berries, and they went across the mantle with some Christmas lights and some greenery. Oh, y'all.
I bet it was so fancy.
It was
You could
fancy.
stalk up some of the dried grasses, make them
see.
stalk, and pull them together and pull it.
Well,
some
perhaps-
this way, some that way.
This
Perhaps as we get more into that season, we'll talk about doing some cut table arrangements or making some wreaths with some things that you have around the house. So
Roping.
there's a lot of
Yeah.
things you can do that will really look excellent. I personally love magnolia foliage
Yes.
as a wreath. It is gorgeous. I mean, and they haven't, generally speaking, before Christmas, they haven't been beaten up by severely cold weather, so they really are. They look like they have been leaf polished still at that
Yeah,
point. So
actually.
it's another great thing to use for a wreath.
Yeah.
It's not like the magnolia doesn't give you enough of them to use either. So.
No, that's
Yeah.
true.
All right, let's get a couple more questions
Okay.
in. Is it too late to plant heirloom mums that are potted? And then they said, thank you.
Yeah. No, it's not too late. If you're going to do it, you better do it because sometimes mums perennialize, sometimes they don't. It kind of just depends on the plant. But you need to go ahead and remove all the blooms. The blooms are probably spent at this point after the 3 nights we've just had. They kind of turned to mush. So remove all the blooms, get them back to green, and then plant them, water them sufficiently, and we'll see.
Leave some space too, right?
They get
Because
big.
they get big.
They can get big, yeah.
Yeah.
They turn into shrubs.
Yeah.
Help to care for 3 big pots of succulents, bringing it in for the winter. So this question is a little bit tricky just because there's so many different types of succulents that we're not sure which ones you're talking about. But generally, if you are bringing them inside, succulents are going to need bright light, bright indirect light. Some like indirect light more than direct. So that's going to be an issue there. But getting plenty of sunlight, and then don't overwater them. You'll have to cut back on your watering. Let them sit dry. Like my Horithia I bring in for the winter, I don't water that at all, and it actually sits in a dark spot. Whereas my Echeveria, I will water it a little bit, put it in some sun, and let it keep growing. But the biggest thing with bringing succulents in for the winter is going to be cutting back on water. The days are short, especially if you don't have a grow light. They're really not going to be getting sufficient sunlight for them to really want to grow. They're just going to want to sit. That's pretty much what you want them to do. So really only water them when the soil is very, very dry, or the plant will let you know when it is.
It'll rot.
It will rot very quickly. They
And-
don't like to be inside.
And that's the great conundrum about watering is that people are indoors. They're always looking at their plants, and it's especially true with cacti and succulents, but with houseplants in general, people tend to overwater them.
Yes.
Because they're inside looking at it. I need to be doing something. You need to be doing something like nothing.
Like nothing.
And
Don't
then-
even look at them.
Enjoy them. Yes.
And outdoors, it's exactly the opposite. They're out of
Truth.
sight, out of mind. They are going to need water, but you need to not be forgetting about them. So,
That is a great point.
if,
Watering is
if you're
tricky.
feeling like you need to water indoor plants, go outside and water outdoor plants.
Don't forget to unhook the garden hose from the faucet on cold nights
You know,
either.
so you've already missed
hook it up.
You've already failed your first test if you didn't do that already.
I didn't do it.
I did.
I didn't even think about it until
wasn't
this
that
moment.
cold for that long.
It
really
wasn't that
big.
cold for that long, but if you tend to forget that thing, so
I do. I tend to forget.
that's okay.
We've got a question about bulbs. I've just received my online order of daffodils, hyacinths, and tulip bulbs, but they are not pre-chilled. Is it too late to put them in the fridge, or can they be planted now?
You know, I don't see why you couldn't just plant them now and let the chill requirements happen through the winter. I mean, we are getting a little bit warm next week, like close to. I mean, we're getting like mid-70s next week, I think. Like,
Yeah.
We will
3 or
get
4
80
days.
one day.
Might get an 80 one day. Like, that's a little bit warm, but I'd say keep them in your fridge now until like it's time to plant, which would be within the next couple weeks, I'm sure. And then just get them in the ground and let the winter chill them, and then they should come up and flower just like anything.
Yeah, and the one thing to keep in mind is that if say you already did it, we've had some cool weather. The ground is cooling down, and the soil temperature does not have the same level of fluctuations as does air temperature. So if it has gotten chilled down, it will tend to stay cool even if you have a few warm days in between. So
Yeah, it is. And, I planted my pansies, or violas really, in pots. Wow, like 3 weeks ago I did this. And I put tulip bulbs below the pansies. Of course, you got to.
Duh.
And
Duh.
like I said, that was 3 weeks ago, and it's been plenty warm. There's no tulips that are like popping up in the pot or anything.
nor will there be.
No, then not until next spring, hopefully. Which hopefully there will be.
There will be. They will come up, and you'll be so happy. So we did get a question about, is it too late to plant pansies? No.
I sure hope not.
It's gonna be soon because we're gonna be out of them if you don't do it. I mean, that's the thing. Landscapers are coming in this time of year, y'all. They buy 20 flats at a time to set out.
Right.
So we're not gonna be necessarily ordering more pansies. We've got a greenhouse full of them right now. So if you have not done this, this is a great week. Today specifically, great day to plant pansies because next week we got nice warmer temperatures coming in that'll keep them growing, and then they'll keep blooming through the winter as long as you keep them growing going.
The difficulty with pansies is from a supplier standpoint, that's
Yeah.
us, is that we've already bought all that there are to buy. The suppliers who we buy from,
They won't give you any more because
well,
they don't have them either.
yeah, they're out.
Yeah.
So it's time to be making your decision on that and getting that done. The larger question, which has come up repeatedly here in the last, is it too late? Yeah, we are fortunate to live in the heart of the transition zone here in Nashville. So if you're a little north or a little south, it's going to be very much the same. We really don't have enough winter here unless the ground is frozen, and that's typically only a handful of days, and it's not unusual for us to go years between actually having frozen ground. It's the only thing that keeps you from being able to plant. So when we ask you rhetorically, when you ask, is it too late to plant? We say, well, what time is it?
Yes, sir.
It's
3:30.
What else you got
it's
going on?
important. It's as relevant to the time of day as it is the time of year, which
Well,
means you
and
can do it anytime.
And even in those years where we have the ground frozen, it's only frozen a little bit. It doesn't get down.
No.
And you're not thinking about getting out and planting then anyway. I mean,
When the frozen tundra's out, you're like, yeah, I'm gonna go plant my stuff now.
I will tell you
It's
now,
time.
back in the day when growing up as a kid and working for my dad, we would get out there and pick through that top 2 or 3 inches of ice and plant things, and we never lost anything as a result of that. It's not the preferred planting conditions for me personally, and
Yeah.
I take exception to it because of the trauma.
And generally speaking, it turns to mud if you wait a little. If it's frozen like that and you come out 2 hours later, it's a top coating of mud.
Yes.
It's nasty. So,
No fun.
oh my goodness gracious.
Oh, wow. Let's get one more question in. When should I prune my phenomenal lavender? Some in my row is gigantic.
Go ahead and get them trimmed up if you need to now. Lavender's different every year, so it might look a little yuck over the winter time here soon. If that ends up happening, you can clear cut it to the dirt. If you got a big lavender this year, that means it's happy down below.
Yep.
So you should have a brand new plant next spring. If you need to clear cut it to the dirt, like I said, do that. But at this point in the game, just like maybe cut it in half, get it back in check if it's too big for you. That's what I got.
Perfect.
All right. Hey,
Hey,
that gives us the complete picture of what you need to be thinking about.
inside or
For
outside?
this week, yes.
Yeah.
And plant advice for any space in your life. That's what we're all about here.
Without any doubt.
And we encourage you to subscribe.
Yes, please.
And that way you'll get a notification when we're live on the air. Where you can always go to our website on YouTube, gardeninginsideout.com, and see what we've got to offer on any particular week. Search our criteria, and it'll give you complete information about
Sign
what's
up.
going on.
Yep, sign up, share, tell the world, spread the word. Name changed last week, but that's going to be the name from going forward. So it's
Yep.
Gardening Inside Out.
It's not going to be like
If you
the name
see
of the week.
Yeah, if you see it show up and you think, wait a minute, what's that? That used to be something else. So just pay attention to it and see what's going on. And next Saturday morning, of course, at 0800, tune in.
There'll be another looming gardening question that we'll explore in depth.
Depthfully.
Or tune into the podcast
Yes.
Wednesdays.
Yes, that's if you don't. You need to drive time. It works great. You don't have to watch us.
Just be smooth. as
Shortened
you
up.
go.
Get your answers really quickly.
Yep.
All right, great. Coming to you from the Green Room Studios here at Bates Nursery and Garden Center. Come out to the nursery today. It's going to be a glorious day to pick something up and
Absolutely.
take it home and plant it. Yeah, football games are on later, but none tomorrow, so be out here to get ready. We'll see you next Saturday morning from the Green Room here for Gardening Inside Out.